Petoskey stones are actually fossilized coral. They can be found on the U.S. territory around Lake Michigan, and there are actually two categories, the Petoskey and the Charlevoix. It's just a difference of size. They can come in various patterns and form and can be even agatized. And of course, they make wonderful jewelry. Today I will show you how you can make a fairly realistic Petoskey stone using just scrap clay with a little bit of adding. So I divided my scrap clay in 5 and I am adding a little bits of other colors. I'm just leaving one as is. And I've added alizarin crimson, black, turquoise and ultramarine just to give them a slight tint, because the Petoskey stones come in various hues. So what I do first is to cut about 1/3 of each of my pieces, and I will make snakes out of this, of what I cut. And out of each of the hues I make a long snake, of which I cut half and put aside, and the other half I will cut in 4. I'll cut in 4 because I have 5 different pieces, but cut it in how many colors you have practically. So I have 5, I leave half the main and then 4 for the other 4 that are smaller, because I will create the middle of the fossil coral. This is what I end up with for each color: a long snake of the color of the piece and then 4 smaller snakes of the other colors. Now this is not absolutely necessary. You can go by without this, because honestly it will not be very noticeable once you finish your cane. But you know me, I just like to make things complicated. So what I do, I just elongate all the snakes until I get them to the same thickness, after which I will cut them into equal length strips, and just bunch them together randomly. To form a pebbled look for the center, and then I cut the bunch in 4 and assemble them again, and then cut that again in 2 and assemble them again until I can obtain a small cube, pretty much a rectangular piece. Now remember to keep it with the cut part up. Then I take another small piece of the base color and I mix it with white. This will form the pattern. Now I take my mixed little snakes and then I form a block out of the remaining polymer clay, scrap polymer clay, and I form it into a rectangular block that would pretty much match the side of the snake log. Again, remember to put the log with the snakes being vertical on your work table. Then I will put the block of scrap together with the snake log and make sure that they are well stuck together. After which I will cut it in 4 sections longitudinally. Then I take my white and scrap mix, and with strips I will wrap partially the sides of each of the 4 sections without reaching with the white strip all the way to the middle. These will form the things that look in the fossilized coral like flower petals, that are actually the old chambers of where the polyps were coming. Then I take my Mod Podge scraper to texturize a little bit the sides. You can use whatever you want, the side of a credit card or the back of your blade. And then I just assemble them together again. And I form the block, making sure that they are well stuck to each other. And I reduce it a little bit. After which I will triangularize it, forming a triangle with the point where the snake log is. After which I will cut the reduced piece in two so I can form a bigger triangle. And I will reduce this triangle so I can put it together and form a semicircle. And now I will be reducing my semicircle until I can cut it in two and make a circle. This time I will show you the full process of reducing, because I was again asked to not skip too much over the reducing, and this time I'm not even speeding it up. It is just mildly sped up because you don't want to watch me with my snail pace movements. And then once you have your circle, then just keep reducing until you obtain a round cane. Do not worry about deformation, because at this point this is scrap clay, and scrap clay gets soft very easily. And with so much manipulation it will be very, very soft, so the very edges will start kind of bleeding on the sides. Do not worry about that. This is fine, and considering that we are trying to imitate a natural process that is not by any means symmetrical, those coral skeletons are just not in a regular symmetrical pattern. It is called a honeycombed pattern, but it is not a regular honeycomb. It's how they managed to grow, you know, when they were crowded together. Then take some remaining white and scrap clay mix and wrap your cane when it gets to a more sensible size, and then just keep reducing it. So the idea is that we are going to reduce this into a snake that we will cut at various thicknesses, so we can reproduce the haphazard pattern of growth of the corals. Now these corals used to live on the territory that is now Lake Michigan. In the Devonian, it used to be an inland sea. So what we can find now are just remnants of that prehistoric sea. So you see, I cut my deformed ends, and now I just keep reducing until I get to about 1 centimeter thickness, and then I will cut about 1 inch segments, cut 3 or 4, and then keep reducing the snake even thinner. Then cut several more segments of the thinner thickness, and then keep reducing until you get it even thinner than that. And keep doing that until you get to some really thin segments. Because those corals were of all kinds of ages, dimensions, because of the ages. Some were more aged, some were younger, and again, they were growing how they had room. They were not all of the same size and of the same edges. They were trying to make some room for themselves to be able to grow. Now take your log segments of various thicknesses and just put them together just randomly without trying to create any kind of pattern. And as you are putting them together, try to squish a little bit so you can form that crowded look that the corals have in the fossil Petoskey stones, because that is your intent, to imitate as much as possible the realistic look of nature, of a natural process. And you can already see on the left that I have made my other canes. And then you can use this by slicing a little bit thicker slices and putting them into a cabochon mold. Or you can use them as a veneer to create beads, or to create pendants, or to create bracelets. It is a very versatile look, and yeah, I know it can be created even more realistically, and I will make in the future a tutorial on how to create agatized Petoskey stone, agatized fossilized coral, because that one is a look that is absolutely fabulous. And I will do that in my series with Pardo. So there we go. This is the Faux Petoskey stone. And this is how it looks like when it's finished and baked and sanded and buffed. You can see that I created several different patterns and even some beads. Enjoy using your scrap clay. Happy claying!